Hello everybody, my name is Miss Asma. Welcome to the presentation on using the quadratic equation. So the quadratic equation sounds like something very complicated, and when you actually first see the quadratic equation, you ask yourself how I can solve this equation. In this video, I will make it more easier for you, and I hope you enjoy with me. Well, now our lesson today is about quadratic equation. First of all, we have taken before in middle 3 the equation from first degree. It was ax plus b equals 0, where a doesn't equal 0. It's called a first degree equation. What is a first degree equation? It is the largest exponent or index in the equation in one variable is 1. Okay, for example, when I have 2x plus 3 equals 0, I want to find the value of x. How I can find the value of x? Well, in this way we have solved it before. Hold on. We have solved it before by add the additive inference to both sides. 2x plus 3. I will add the additive inference for both sides. So here I will write negative 3 equals 0 minus 3. I will add the additive inference to both sides, okay? Now let's complete. Here, 2x plus 3 equals 0. Negative 3 and negative 3. Positive 3 and negative 3 equals 0. 0 minus 3 equals negative 3. So 2x equals negative 3. This is a new equation. Let's solve for x by divided both sides by 2. So x equals negative 3 over 2. Okay. Now, we talk to an equation from second degree. It is called the quadratic equation, which is 2x power 2 plus bx plus c equals 0. Now, I want from you to remember how I know to solve the quadratic equation. Okay, now in this video I will help you to solve the quadratic equation in 3 methods. First of all, I want from you to know what is a quadratic equation. Well, a quadratic equation in one variable is an equation in which the largest exponent or index of the variable is 2. Okay, for example, 6x squared, by the way, power 2, x power 2, you called it x squared, okay? So 6x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0, or y squared minus 5y plus 5 equals 0. This is a simple example for quadratic equation. The standard form for a quadratic equation looks like this: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a doesn't equal 0. A, b, and c are real numbers. Okay? Okay. How do you solve a quadratic equation? In this way, we have 3 methods. Method number 1, we can factor the quadratic. Find out to multiply to make the quadratic equation. Number 2, we can complete the square. Number 3, you can use the special quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b positive or negative square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Just plug in the value of a, b, and c and do the calculations. Okay, let's move to the first point in this presentation, which is factor the quadratic equation. Okay. So let's take an example to help us how I factor the quadratic equation. Okay, example number 1. I have here 2x squared minus 12x plus 10 equals 0. To factor this terminal, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, well, between the numbers here, is there a common factor? Well, all 3 numbers are even numbers, so that means they must be divisible by 2. So let's factor out 2. Now I factor out 2. Okay. Now what do we have left inside the bracket? Well, for the first term, okay, 2x squared. Factor out the 2. So what do we have left? Who knows the answer? Well, we have left x power 2 or x squared. Okay. Now for the second term, negative 12x. So what we do to divide it by 2, so we factor out 2. What do we have left? Negative 12x divided by 2 equals negative 6x. So we left negative 6x. Okay, the last term, which is a constant term, it is positive 10. Now I wanted to factor out 2 from positive 10, so I will divide it positive 10 by 2. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Equals 5. Okay, now the last term would be positive 5. Okay, now how do how do we factor this terminal inside the bracket? Okay, I wanted to hold on. I wanted to factor this terminal inside the bracket. We use a very powerful method called cross multiply then check. Okay, let's do this, or let's use this method to factor this terminal. Well, look at the first term, which is x squared. Well, x squared, can be x times x, right? X times x. I will write it under each other. Okay, the last term, which is positive 5. Positive 5, we can break it apart as positive 5 times positive 1, right? Okay, let's check out the middle term. Okay, for this negative. Now, I wanted to tell you about something. Positive 5 times positive 1 equals positive 5. Also, negative 5 times negative 1 equals positive 5. So I wanted to know which is the better choice here. So I will back to the middle term and ask myself, is this sign positive or negative? Negative, so the better choice here is negative 5, negative 1. Okay, let's do it. So I will clean positive 5 and positive 1. Now the better choice here is negative 5 and negative 1. Now let's do our method, which is cross multiply then check. Okay, cross multiply, start from here. Negative 5 times x, negative 5x. Negative 1 times x, negative x. Okay, and combine everything here. What we have after cross multiply and check, we combine everything here pattern as a line. Now negative 5x, negative x equals what? Equals negative 6x. Okay, does this match from the middle term? Does this match the middle term? Yes, negative 6x, negative 6x. That means our factoring is correct. Our factoring is correct. So now let's move to the another point, which is 2 open brackets equals 0. How I can fill the first bracket? The first bracket from the first thing here, x minus 5. And the second bracket, x minus 1. Okay, now what's the value? We'll make this bracket equal 0 when x equals 5, right? And here, what's the value? What makes this bracket equals 0? Well, when have x equals 1. So the solution here for this quadratic equation is x equals 5 and x equals 1. Let's see this. Okay. 2x minus 5, x minus 1 equals 0. Well, the value here would be x equals 5, and the value here will be x equals 1. Do you understand? Okay, let's have another example very quickly. X power 2 plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. I wanted to factor this terminal quadratic equation. Well, I will open two brackets, factor out x. 6 is 3 times 2, of course, plus, so would be here plus and here plus, equals 0. Of course, what makes this value equal 0, which when x equals negative 3, and here when x equals negative 2. Let's check out this. X plus 2, x plus 3. So x equals negative 2, x equals negative 3. Okay, let's move to the second point here, which is completing the square. Okay, for example, I will give you an example now. Okay, let's start off by taking a look at this example. Well, solve the quadratic equation x minus 5 all squared equals 28. Okay, how I can solve this quadratic equation by completing the square? First of all, we take square roots for both sides. Take square roots here and square roots here. Now, on the left side, the square root of x minus 5 all squared would just be x minus 5 equals square root for 28. It is positive or negative. Don't miss that. 28. Okay? Now, to solve this for x, we can just add 5 to both sides. We would add 5 to both sides. Add 5 here and add 5 here. Now, x equals 5 positive or negative square root 28. Right? Okay. Now, root 28 on your calculator would be 2 root 7. Now, let's check these answers. Oh, by taking square root to both sides, well, root x minus 5 all squared equals root 28 would be x minus 5 equals positive or negative square root 28. Don't forget positive or negative, okay? X equals 5 positive or negative square root 28, so x equals 5 positive or negative 2 root 7. So we have here 5 steps to solve this quadratic equation by complete the squared. So the idea behind completing squared is we want to be able to factor the left side of the equation. So that isn't a perfect square terminal, meaning it has two of the same factors as we see the previous example. We had some steps to create a perfect square terminal. So let's take a look at how we are going to do that. Okay, step number 1. Write the equation in form ax squared plus bx plus space, we don't write here anything, equals c plus, we don't write here anything, okay? Okay, divide all terms by a, the coefficient of x squared. Step number 3, complete the square on the left side of the equation and balance this by adding the same value to the right side of the equation. Add half b all squared to both sides. Step number 4, factor the left side of the equation. It should be a perfect square terminal. Write it as a binomial squared. Step number 5 and the last one, take the square root on both sides of the equation and solve it for x. Okay, let's have an example to make sure that you understand all these steps. Okay, solve the quadratic equation x squared plus 6x minus 9 equals 0. Well, we write the equation in the form x squared plus 6x plus space equals 9 plus space. Step number 2, we uh, we multiply 6 times half 1 over 2 all squared, right? All squared equals 6 times half, which is 3, all squared equals 9. So we will add here 9 and we will add here 9. Let's check out this. Yes, half times 6 all squared equals 3 squared equals 9. So we will add here 9 and we will add here 9. Okay, now we will factor this terminal equation as the product of two brackets equals 9 plus 9, which is 18, which is 18. Okay, now x squared can be break as x times x, 9, which is 3 and 3. Positive, so we write here positive and here positive. Now x plus 3 times x plus 3, which is x plus 3 all squared, right? X plus 3 all squared equals what's here? 18. Right? Well, let's check out this. X plus 3 equals 18. So x plus 3 all squared equals 18. Now I will take the square root for both sides. It will just be x plus 3 equals positive or negative square root 18. Now I will add the additive inverse for both sides, negative 3 and negative 3. We cross this equals 0. Now x equals negative 3 positive or negative 3 root 2. This is the example for complete the squares. Okay, now the last thing was about the quadratic formula. Quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b positive or negative square root b squared negative 4ac over 2a. Okay, what this positive or negative means? This positive and negative means there are two answers. One of them positive and the other one, which is another root, is negative. Okay, like we have here 1.7 it's positive, 0.9 it's negative. So we have here two roots. Who can help me to know which roots are there, or how to help me to know um, how many real roots in this quadratic equation? Well, we use discriminant. Discriminant help us to know how many roots exist for this equation. Which is the discriminant is b squared negative 4ac. It's called discriminant because it can discriminate between the possible types of answer. We have three types here. First, when p squared negative 4ac is positive, we get two real solutions, as we see here. Negative 0.9 and 1.7. Number two, when it's a 0, we get just one real solution. Both answers are the same. Root number 3, when it's a negative, we get a pair of complex solution. A pair of complex solution. We will discuss about complex solutions in another presentation. But now you understand what is discriminant. So discriminant tell us how many real roots exist for a quadratic equation. Okay, using the quadratic equation, just put the values of a, b, and c into the quadratic formula and do your calculations. For this example, solve 5x squared plus 6x plus 1 equals 0. Now, the coefficients are a equals 5, b equals 6, c equals 1, right? Now, quadratic formula is x equals negative b positive or negative square root b squared negative 4ac over 2a. Now I will put in a, b, and c in this quadratic formula and do my calculations. Well, x would be, the last thing, x would be negative 0.02 or negative 1. Now, negative 0.2 or negative 1, I wanted to know these solutions, okay? Discriminant more than zero, so would be real two solutions, or equal zero, the same solution, or complex numbers. Now I want to show you here the graph of these equations. This called the roots of equations. Positive, negative 1, negative 0.2. Now I want to use discriminant by p squared negative 4ac, negative 4ac equals, now p squared, which is 6. Now wait, we do it here. P squared, look at this, all this. So it would be 16. 16 more than 0. So we have here two real solutions. It means we have here two roots. Okay, now I want to check out on point 0.02 and negative 1. Is this really the roots of this quadratic equation? Now I will check it by substituting x as 0.2 and negative 1. The first thing comes true. The second thing, which is negative 1, comes 0, so it's true also. And the discriminant have two real solution roots. Okay, that's all for our lesson today. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you got enjoy with me. Thank you so much. Bye bye.